Veterans, you might be wondering if you can use your VA loan for a second home. If that is you, then guess what? You are in the right spot tonight. Thank you again. I hope everybody had a wonderful um, Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to you guys, gals. Thank you for your service to our country. So, the answer is yes. Under specific conditions, you can use your VA loan for a second home. The rules offer flexibility if you meet occupancy and entitlement requirements, veterans. However, it's essential to understand the exact criteria. Okay. So I'm going to address 7 of the most frequently asked questions about using a VA loan for your second home. Okay. Buying a second home with VA loan benefits may be possible if you meet specific eligibility requirements and plan to use the new property as your primary residence. That is a key. I'm going to repeat that. If you plan to use the new property as your primary residence, okay? So, yes, you can use a VA loan for a second home under certain conditions. To be clear, VA loans aren't designed for vacation homes or rental properties, but if you're moving to a new primary residence and you meet VA guidelines, you might still be eligible. You can use a VA loan for a second home if you plan to live in the new home full time, if you meet occupancy requirement. Usually, you need to move in within 60 days of purchase if you have enough remaining VA loan entitlement, okay? Let me break down a little bit for you the just what the entitlement is, okay? The VA loan entitlement is the money that you have left over, the money that maybe you've already used, some of the money that you have left over can be used if you have enough remaining towards your new home, towards your primary residence. That's essentially what it means. You cannot use a VA loan to buy a true vacation home that you only use part time. You can't use a VA loan to buy or build a home that will only be used as a rental or investment property. Okay. So you cannot do that at all. Can you use a VA loan for a vacation home? Like I just said, no. Most cases, the VA requires that the property be your primary residence, not a second home or a getaway. However, if you're on active duty or preparing to retire, you may still qualify for a VA loan if you certify that you'll move into the property and make it your primary residence within 12 months of your closing. In those cases, the VA may still consider if your primary home, even if it appears to be a vacation property on paper. Okay. If you plan to move in the primary residence within 12 months of closing. Okay. Can you use the VA loan for an investment property? Yes, you can use a VA loan to purchase a multi unit rental property up to 4 units if you live in one of the units for at least 1 year. The VA requires you to move into your new home within 60 days of closing to meet the primary residence requirements. After that, you can rent out all the units and use your VA loan benefits again to invest into more properties. So, very important to understand that. Um, you can use your VA loan for rental properties according to the VA loan guidelines. Again, it must be a multi-unit rental property up to 4 units if you intend, again, to occupy one of the units. The VA typically requires that the borrower move into the property within 60 days of closing and live there for at least 1 year. The key to making rental properties work with your VA loan benefits is to meet the primary residency requirement. So, for example, you could purchase a 4 unit rental property with with a VA loan and live in 1 unit and rent out the other 3. Very important to understand that. So, in general, you can use a VA loan to buy an investment property so long as you live in one of the units. Depending on the property, you can also get creative and potentially rent out rooms or a guest house to generate monthly income. Very important to understand that. Next question. Can you have two VA mortgages at the same time? The answer is yes. You can have two VA mortgages at the same time. However, it depends on the remaining VA loan entitlement and your ability to meet occupancy and income requirements. This is very common for service members with maybe you're PCSing, maybe you have orders for that, and you want to keep your current home and you want to buy another property as a new primary residence. If you have the keyword if you have enough remaining entitlement and meet the VA's rules, such as living in the new home and qualifying for both loans, you may be able to use your VA benefits for a second home. Okay. Can you get more than one VA home loan? Yes, you can use your VA loan benefit more than once. There's no limit to how many times you can use a VA home loan, as long as you've restored your entitlement or have remaining entitlement available. This can happen. This can happen to you after selling your previous home, paying off the VA loan in full, or applying for a one-time entitlement restoration if you're keeping the original home. Okay. Very important to understand that. Can you transfer a VA loan to another property? No, you cannot transfer a VA loan from one property to another. VA loans are tied to the specific home that you purchase. If you want to buy a different property, you'll need to apply for a new VA loan, which requires checking your available entitlement, which I talked about earlier. Earlier, do you have entitlement available from your first VA loan? And if you meet all current eligibility requirements as of the time that you are purchasing that property. Okay. You may need to sell the first property or apply for restored entitlement before you decide to move forward. Okay. Can you have two VA loans at once? Yes. I've answered that. You can have two VA loans at the same time, but however, under certain conditions. This typically occurs when you relocate for work or service or plan to keep your primary home, and basically you have sufficient remaining VA loan entitlement to cover the second loan. You have to have submission or sufficient remaining entitlement. Your mortgage company can look up that for you as well. You can reach out to the VA and ask for your remaining VA loan entitlement to cover that second loan. Keep in mind, though, the second home must still meet VA occupancy requirements, meaning it must be your new primary residence. Okay. So, using a VA loan for a second home is possible, provided you follow the VA's criteria. You must treat the new home as your primary residence and meet occupancy requirements within a specific time frame. Whether you're moving to a new duty station, upgrading your living situation, or planning a long-term strategy with multi-unit properties, your VA loan benefit can go further than you might think. Okay. So, yes, you can do it. There are certain conditions. If you're going to get a second property, you need to make sure that you have a loan entitlement covering that as well too. Okay. This is a quick live stream. Yes, you can use a VA loan for a second home. You can do it under certain conditions. And really, the VA really wants to see that it is under the conditions that this is going to be your primary residence, or you're going to move within that primary residence or that VA loan. You're going to use that VA loan moving into a place or a property within the next 12 months as well. And yes, you can use it for an investment property. I hope this helps you out. Like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, share this out with someone that can use this information. And thank you guys and gals for your service. We are here to help you get the benefits that you're entitled to. Thank you for your service. And again, happy Veterans Day to everyone. Happy holidays. We will be back on here tomorrow. Talk to you later.